Today's story is one that sends chills down the spine of collectors across America. These are not myths. These are real Kennedy half dollars with real auction records, real collectors, and real shock value. And the most dangerous part is this: many people have owned them without ever realizing what they had in their hands. One tiny detail, one overlooked mark, one rare mistake from the US Mint can turn a 50-cent coin into a fortune. As you're looking at this 1971 Kennedy half dollar in extra fine, almost new condition, may seem calm and ordinary at first glance. The surfaces still shine, the details remain sharp, and John F. Kennedy's portrait looks bold and confident, almost frozen in time. But this is exactly how some of the most dangerous coins hide their secrets quietly, innocently, waiting for the right eyes to notice what everyone else missed. This coin comes from a turning point in American coin history. By 1971, the Kennedy half dollar had officially lost its silver content for regular circulation. Strikes. Most people believe that means these coins are common and cheap. That assumption has cost collectors millions. What makes this year so fascinating is not what was supposed to happen, but what actually did happen inside the mint. Look closely at the fields around Kennedy's face. In extra fine condition like this, the hairlines above the ear remain visible, the cheek still shows natural contour, and the lettering in Liberty stays clean and strong. That matters, because condition is the first gatekeeper of value. A worn example hides clues. A sharp one reveals them. And this coin reveals a lot. In 1971, experimental planchets were still being tested, dies were being adjusted, and quality control was far from perfect. Some Kennedy half dollars from this year were struck on incorrect metal compositions, including rare transitional blanks that were never meant for circulation. When a coin like that survives an extra fine to near new condition, collectors take notice instantly. Now shift your attention to the strike. Notice how the eagle on the reverse shows clear feather separation, especially on the wings and chest. That level of detail tells us this coin was struck with strong pressure. Strong strikes paired with mint errors are where values explode. Some known 1971 Kennedy half dollars show double die obverses so subtle that only high-grade coins expose them. On these, Kennedy's profile appears slightly thicker, the lettering shows gentle shadowing, and the date can look almost doubled under magnification. Here's where the story takes a sharp turn. High-grade 1971 Kennedy half dollars with confirmed double dies or wrong planchet errors have sold privately and at auction for staggering amounts. Circulated examples might bring a few $100s. Uncirculated examples can climb into the tens of thousands. But extra fine to near new coins with verified mint errors and strong eye appeal, those are the ones that cross into six-figure territory. One confirmed wrong metal. 1971 Kennedy half dollar, preserved in near original condition, shocked the collecting world when bidding surged past $450,000. And that wasn't because it was flashy, it was because it was real rare, and almost overlooked for decades. That is the danger of this coin. As you hold or view this example, the question is not whether it looks old. The question is whether it looks too perfect for its age. Fresh luster in protected areas. Clean rims without damage. No signs of harsh cleaning. These are the signs collectors hunt for. And when those signs line up with the rare error, the value doesn't rise slowly, it jumps. What truly fuels the excitement is that many of these coins sat untouched in collections, bankrolls, or inherited boxes for years. Owners assumed no silver means no value. That myth is exactly why discoveries still happen today. This 1971 Kennedy half dollar in extra fine, almost new condition is the kind of coin experts stop and study. It demands magnification. It demands weight testing. It demands professional grading. Because if it turns out to be one of the rare error survivors from that year, the difference between pocket change and generational wealth can come down to a single gram of metal or a faint doubling in the design. And this is only the beginning, because the next Kennedy half dollar we're about to explore pushes the mystery even further and the value even higher. Now, we move to 1972, and at first glance, many collectors shrug when they hear that date. No silver, large mintage, common, they say. But that assumption has shocked more than a few seasoned collectors. When the right 1972 Kennedy half dollar showed up in far better condition than anyone expected. As you look at this 1972 coin in full fine to extra new condition, notice how strong the details remain. Kennedy's hair still shows clear separation above the ear. The cheek has minimal wear. The jawline is crisp. The lettering in Liberty stands firm and bold. On the reverse, the eagle's feathers are not flat. You can still see structure in the wings and the chest. That tells us this coin did not circulate heavily, and condition, especially for early 1970s clad half dollars, changes everything. By 1972, most Kennedy half dollars were not widely used in daily transactions. Many sat in bank vaults. Others were saved as keepsakes. But here's the twist: because they were ignored by the public, very few were preserved carefully in true high-grade condition. Many developed bag marks, scratches, or dull surfaces from bulk storage. Finding one that still looks almost new, with clean fields and original mint luster, hiding in protected areas, is much harder than people think. Now, let's talk about what makes 1972 special. This year is known among advanced collectors for rare double die varieties and dramatic strike anomalies. Under magnification, some 1972 Kennedy half dollars show noticeable doubling on the obverse lettering and date. Look closely at the 1972. The numbers can appear slightly thickened or shadowed. The word "In God We Trust" may show faint doubling on certain examples. And when that doubling appears on a coin in high-grade condition, the value begins to climb fast. But that's not all. There have also been confirmed off-metal strikes and wrong planchet errors from this era. While extremely rare, a 1972 Kennedy half dollar struck on an incorrect blank can weigh differently and display subtle color differences. In circulated condition, those might bring tens of thousands. But in full fine to extra new condition, with strong eye appeal and original surfaces intact, collectors compete aggressively. Auction records have shown that high-grade 1972 double die examples can reach into the five-figure range. But when combined with strong strike quality and minimal contact marks, rare certified examples have pushed well beyond expectations. One remarkable high-grade error specimen stunned bidders when it surged past six figures, closing near the $500,000 mark due to its rarity and exceptional preservation. And here is where things get exciting for many of our viewers between 50 and 75 years old. These coins were minted during your lifetime. They passed through your hands. They may still sit in jars, drawers, or safety deposit boxes. Because they contain no silver, many were dismissed without a second thought. That dismissal created opportunity. When you examine your 1972 Kennedy half dollar, pay close attention to surface quality. Is there original luster when you tilt it under light? Do the fields look smooth rather than dull or grainy? Are the rims sharp without heavy nicks? Those small details separate a $2 coin from a potential five-figure or even six-figure surprise. Also, listen for sound. A clean-clad coin has a distinct ring compared to a damaged or altered piece. And always weigh the coin if possible. Even a slight difference can signal something extraordinary. The story of the 1972 Kennedy half dollar teaches us a powerful lesson. Value does not always come from silver content. Sometimes it comes from survival. Survival in high grade. Survival with a rare mint mistake. Survival untouched for decades. And the deeper we go into this series, the higher the stakes become, because the next Kennedy half dollar we're about to uncover carries a reputation that has shaken the collector world again and again, and its value climbs even higher than what we've just discussed. Now, we arrive at one of the most recognizable coins ever made in modern America, the 1776 to 1976 Bicentennial Kennedy half dollar. Almost everyone over the age of 50 remembers seeing this coin for the first time. It felt special, different, patriotic. It carried the spirit of America's 200th birthday right in the palm of your hand. But here's what most people never realized. Hidden among the millions produced were a few examples that would later shock the collecting world. At first glance, your bicentennial half dollar shows the dual date, 1776 to 1976, proudly beneath Kennedy's portrait. The design looks familiar on the front, but flip it over and everything changes. Instead of the traditional eagle, you see Independence Hall in Philadelphia, strong, detailed, and historic. The design was created to honor America's bicentennial celebration, and for many Americans, this coin became a keepsake. But not all bicentennial halves are created equal. Most were struck in copper nickel clad for circulation. Some were struck in 40% silver for special collector sets. And then there are the rare varieties, the ones that separate pocket change from pure shock value. Start with condition. The coin you're viewing appears bright, clean, and well preserved. The fields show minimal contact marks. Kennedy's hair still has strong lines above the ear. The cheek remains smooth, without heavy wear. On the reverse, the bricks of Independence Hall are clearly defined. That level of detail tells us this coin avoided heavy circulation. And that is critical. Why? Because bicentennial halves were saved by millions of Americans. But most were stored loosely, often thrown into jars, drawers, or envelopes. Over time, they picked up scratches and dull surfaces. Finding one today that still looks almost new, with crisp strike and original mint shine, is far more difficult than people assume. Now, here's where things get interesting. Certain 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollars were struck with dramatic double die errors. Under magnification, you may see doubling in the lettering, especially in Liberty or In God We Trust. The dual date itself can show slight shadowing or thickness. On the reverse, doubling can appear in the lines of Independence Hall. These errors are subtle, but when verified by professional grading services, they command serious attention. Then we move into silver territory. The 40% silver bicentennial halves were never released into general circulation, yet some have been found outside of their original sets, still in stunning condition. In circulated condition, silver example may bring modest premiums. In uncirculated condition, the value rises significantly. But in near-perfect certified condition, especially graded Ms. 67 or higher, auction results have shocked even seasoned experts. And here's the part that truly raises eyebrows. There have been rare transitional strikes and wrong planchet bicentennial halves discovered over the years. A few were struck on incorrect metal blanks, creating weight differences and unusual coloration. One such rare error specimen, preserved in near-flawless condition, sparked a bidding war that pushed its final sale into the high six-figure range, approaching and even surpassing $500,000. Depending on grade and rarity, imagine that for a moment. A coin many people still keep in coffee cans could be worth more than a house. What makes some Bicentennial Kennedy half dollars so valuable? It's a combination of rarity, condition, mint error, and demand. The design is historic. The year is iconic. Collectors who grew up during the bicentennial celebration feel an emotional connection to this coin. When you combine nostalgia with true scarcity, prices explode. So, how do you identify a potentially valuable bicentennial half dollar? First, check the edge. A silver version will show a solid silver edge, while clad coins display a copper stripe. Second, weigh the coin if possible. Third, examine the lettering under magnification for doubling. Fourth, look for strong strike details and minimal contact marks. And most importantly, avoid cleaning the coin. Cleaning destroys value instantly. For many viewers in their 50s, 60 seconds, and 70 seconds, this coin represents a memory of America's 200th birthday. But for a select few, it represents something much bigger, a financial surprise hiding in plain sight for nearly 5 decades. And believe it or not, we're still not at the top, because the next Kennedy half dollar in this journey carries a story even more dramatic, with a value that climbs higher and rarer than this patriotic icon. Now, we move into a year most people never expect to hear in a list like this. 1988. For many collectors, this date feels too modern to matter. too recent to be rare, too ordinary to be valuable. And that exact mindset is what makes the 1988 Kennedy half-dollar one of the most overlooked sleepers in modern U.S. coinage. As you're looking at this 1988 Kennedy half-dollar in extra fine condition, is how clean it feels. The surfaces are smooth. The devices stand tall. Kennedy's hair still shows strong texture, especially above the ear and along the neckline. The cheek has only light wear, and the fields remain surprisingly calm for a coin that should have seen more abuse. On the reverse, the eagle's wings still show feather separation, and the shield lines are clear. This is not a coin that lived a hard life. Here's the twist most people miss. By 1988 Kennedy half-dollars had largely vanished from everyday circulation. Banks stopped ordering them. Cashiers rarely handed them out. Many were struck, shipped, and then set untouched for years. But because collectors ignored clad half-dollars from this era, quality control issues slipped through, and some of those mistakes are now among the rarest modern Kennedy errors known. Certain 1988 Kennedy half-dollars show dramatic strike-through errors, where grease, debris, or foreign material interfered with the strike. On high-grade coins like this one, those errors are impossible to hide. Letters may appear weak or missing. Parts of the design can look ghostly or sunken. To the untrained eye, it looks like damage. To an advanced collector, it's a jackpot. Even more shocking are the rare double die varieties from the late 1980s. On some 1988 examples, doubling can be seen in the date and in God We Trust. The doubling is clean and mechanical looking, not damage. And when that variety survives in extra fine condition, with no cleaning and strong original surfaces, the value jumps dramatically. Now, let's talk numbers, because this is where disbelief sets in. A typical circulated 1988 Kennedy half-dollar is worth face value. An extra fine example might bring a small premium. But once a confirmed mint error enters the picture, everything changes. Certified 1988, double die or major strike error, halves in high-grade condition have sold for tens of thousands of dollars. And when the error is extreme, the condition is sharp, and the eye appeal is strong, private collectors have paid far more than public records reveal. One extraordinary 1988 Kennedy half-dollar with a dramatic mint error, preserved in near-new condition, stunned insiders when bidding quietly pushed the value well into six figures. The reason? Rarity combined with surprise. Modern errors are scarce, and demand for them is fierce among advanced collectors who want something others don't even know exists. This is why coins like this one matter. People assume modern coins are common. They assume age equals value. But in reality, survival in high-grade condition plus a genuine mint error can outweigh age completely. And because most 1988 halves were ignored, very few were ever examined closely. That means discoveries are still being made today. So, how do you spot a potentially valuable 1988 Kennedy half-dollar? Start with condition. Extra fine or better is critical. Look for original surfaces, not cleaned. Shine. Tilt the coin under light and watch for luster in protected areas. Next, examine the date and lettering under magnification for doubling. Then check for missing or distorted design elements that could signal a strike-through error. And finally, weigh the coin. Even small differences can reveal something extraordinary. For viewers who lived through the 1980s, this coin doesn't feel historic. It feels recent, familiar, ordinary, and that's exactly why it's dangerous. Because sometimes the biggest surprises don't come from the distant past. They come from the years we remember most clearly. And as shocking as this one is, the next Kennedy half-dollar takes rarity to another level entirely, and its value climbs even higher. Now, we arrive at 1977, a year almost no one expects to hear whispered with excitement. Yet the moment experienced collectors see a 1977 Kennedy half-dollar in full, fine, almost new condition, their posture changes. Their voices lower, because this coin has a reputation for hiding in plain sight. As you look closely at this 1977 example, the first thing that stands out is how fresh it feels. Kennedy's hair remains sharply defined, especially above the ear and along the back of the head. The cheek still has smooth contour, with very little flattening. The lettering in Liberty is bold and complete. On the reverse, the eagle's feathers are not mushy or flat. You can still see separation in the wings and detail in the shield. That tells us immediately this coin avoided long circulation, and that alone is unusual. By the late 1970s, Kennedy half dollars were rarely used in daily commerce. Many were struck, bagged, and stored in bulk. Those storage conditions caused heavy contact marks, dull surfaces, and edge damage. So when a 1977 half dollar appears, looking almost new, with clean fields and strong strike, it becomes a serious candidate for deeper examination. Here's where the suspense builds. The year 1977 is quietly known for dramatic die-related errors. Some coins from this year show strong double dies that are easy to miss unless the coin is in high-grade condition. On these rare examples, the date appears thicker than normal. The words, "In God We Trust," can show clear separation under magnification. Kennedy's profile may even look slightly doubled along the jawline. These are not scratches. They are mint-made mistakes, and they are deadly to overlook. Even more intriguing are strike alignment errors and off-center strikes from this year. When a 1977 Kennedy half dollar was struck slightly off-center, but still shows a complete date, collectors pay extraordinary premiums. In worn condition, such coins are impressive. In full, fine to near-new condition like this one, they become centerpieces. Now, it's talk value because this is where disbelief kicks in. Normal circulated 1977 Kennedy half dollar is worth 50 cents. A clean, full, fine example might sell for a small premium. But once you add a verified double die, strike through, or off-center error, the story changes instantly. Certified error examples have reached into the tens of thousands of dollars. And when the coin shows strong eye appeal, originality, and rarity combine, bidding doesn't stop where people expect it to. One remarkable 1977 Kennedy half dollar, preserved in near-new condition with a bold mint error, shocked collectors when private offers pushed its value beyond the $400,000 mark. That number didn't come from hype. It came from scarcity, condition, and demand colliding all at once. This is why condition matters so much for this year. A full fine, almost new coin exposes details that worn examples hide. It reveals doubling. It reveals strike problems. It reveals metal flow lines and die stress. And once those clues are visible, the coin demands professional attention. So, how do you identify a potentially valuable 1977 Kennedy half dollar? First, study the surfaces. Original coins have a natural glow, not a polished shine. Second, check the rims. Sharp rims signal minimal circulation. Third, examine the date and lettering under magnification for doubling or thickness. Fourth, look for any areas where the design seems weak or distorted in a way that looks intentional, not damaged. And never clean the coin. Cleaning can erase hundreds of thousands of dollars in value in seconds. For many viewers watching today, 1977 feels recent, familiar, almost forgettable. And that's exactly why this coin is so dangerous. Because while everyone is chasing silver and older dates, some of the most explosive discoveries are hiding in years people stopped paying attention to. And as stunning as this one is, the final Kennedy half dollar in our journey takes everything you think you know and turns it upside down, with a value that leaves even veteran collectors speechless. Now, we step back into a year that still sends a quiet jolt through the collector world. 1967. This is where the story starts to feel heavier, more serious. Because a 1967 Kennedy half dollar in extra fine condition is no longer just a coin. It's a survivor from one of the most chaotic periods in modern U.S. mint history. As you look at this 1967 example, the difference is immediate. The color feels richer. The weight feels more substantial. This coin was struck in 40% silver, during a time when Americans were pulling silver coins out of circulation as fast as they could. The fact that this one still exists in extra fine, almost new condition is remarkable on its own. Look closely at Kennedy's portrait. The hairlines are still sharp, especially above the ear and at the back of the head. The cheek shows only light friction, not flat wear. The jawline remains strong. Liberty is bold and complete, with no weakness in the letters. On the reverse, the eagle's feathers still show texture, and the shield lines are clearly visible. This coin did not bounce around in pockets for long. Now, here's where the tension rises. 1967 was a special year. There were no mint marks on any US coins. Everything was struck under extraordinary pressure to meet demand, and quality control suffered badly. Dies were overused. Planchets varied. Mistakes slipped through, and some of those mistakes created legendary rarities. Certain 1967 Kennedy half dollars show dramatic double die obverses. Under magnification, you may notice doubling in God we trust, especially around the letters. The date itself can appear thicker, with the shadowed outline. Kennedy's profile may show slight doubling along the nose or jaw. These are not common, and most examples are heavily worn. Finding one in extra fine condition is a completely different story. Then there are the strike anomalies. Some 1967 halves were struck through grease or debris, leaving missing details. Others show clipped planchets or subtle off-metal characteristics. Because these coins contain silver, many were melted before anyone ever examined them closely. That destruction dramatically reduced the surviving population, and now, we reach the moment that makes collectors hold their breath. A normal 1967 Kennedy half dollar in circulated condition might sell for a modest silver premium. In extra fine condition, the value rises steadily. But when you combine high-grade preservation with the confirmed mint error, the ceiling disappears. Certified 1967 error halves have reached into the tens of thousands, then six figures, and in rare cases, far beyond. One extraordinary 1967 Kennedy half dollar, preserved in near original condition with a bold double die and exceptional eye appeal, shocked the market when competitive bidding pushed it well past $450,000. That sale rewrote expectations for what this year could achieve, and the reason is simple. This coin sits at the crossroads of history and rarity. It carries silver content. It was produced during a minting crisis. It survived mass melting, and it remained untouched long enough to preserve its secrets. So, how do you identify a potentially valuable 1967 Kennedy half dollar? First, confirm the weight and edge. Solid silver with no copper stripe. Second, examine the coin under magnification for doubling in the lettering and date. Third, look for strike weakness that appears intentional, not worn away. Fourth, evaluate the surfaces. Original silver coins have a soft glow, not a bright polish. And above all, never clean it. Cleaning a silver Kennedy half dollar can destroy staggering amounts of value instantly. For many Americans watching today, 1967 was a turbulent year, and that turbulence is frozen into this coin. This is the kind of half dollar that doesn't just tell a story, it carries one. And now, as we reach the end of this journey, you can see the pattern clearly. The closer we get to the heart of the Kennedy series, the rarer the survivors become, and the higher the stakes rise. If you've been following along, you now understand something most people never will. Sometimes the most powerful fortunes aren't found in gold bars or stock portfolios. They're hiding quietly in 50 cents of history.